Someone watched my videos and would say, here's a guy who lives in the past. How far in the past? The world was once all Pangea and continents. They broke up, governments formed, and if you can just fast forward up to how world trade is, the commerce, we still get all our goods, more than 50% of them from rail carts, and then they go on to trucks. And this is a supply chain. And when they're coming from countries like the ones that most form Pangea, you know, it's a percentage of the countries when they deviate, you can match up their country shapes like a puzzle into Pangea. It all looks like a bigger imprint of Africa. So I mentioned the trade route earlier, and I'd like to touch upon the opposite of that, because that's what a white dwarf is opposite to a black hole. Though they're from the same construct, in the same vein is the goods. And so you can get goods, they're from the store, but if they're not in the store, you better have some on hand. And what I mean by this is that, like, your own house, and how profitable can you make profits from there. And so this whole thing of what a business is, and having it not be as dangerous as things that are regulated. So you have to pass it. But wouldn't it be great if you had like this giant human forum of what's acceptable, and it's based off the logistics of how, oh, I don't know, when you put the countries together, you're gonna have to add upon all these salt vents that are under the country's ocean bed, because these have been active this whole time, and that's why the ocean's more salty than it was during in the times of Pangea. So it's stuff like this that get actual numbers that are crude, but the more crude they are, the more that they add up. It's the same with the star-studded envelopes, but it's more so is with like insurance. And so with insurance agencies and what's insured or not, the most extreme things are like with your health, it has to be insured because health is wealth. So other than an anesthesiologist, that part. We're to touch upon stars again. I labeled the video star-studded envelope, and what this would mean is that in computers they fire off packets, and these are digital things of information they unfold. And so I saw how files and paper, this girl got called to NASA as a little kid, and they had her just order these files around alphabetically. Well, now they do this stuff digitally, and from the digital landscape, all these packets that are unfolded, they're trying to get star-studded envelopes. And what this means is like designs that excitate. If you've got friction, this is how information is handled through manipulation. But if it's on these giant scales of powers, it's almost the same if you're trying to get that effect to coincide. Between an anesthesiologist and a philanthropist. It's like asking someone who's endangered what's liable. And then the saying goes, in insurance, there's all these expenditures. Which one can be most insured? And then other than the anesthesiologists, they're the most insured. So this line of logic is almost an implication of this entire video. Please enjoy it. When someone would say something that are less hands-on are more innovative, this is the difference between a philanthropist and an anesthesiologist. One's like on the field, the other's lost on a trail, where they think that's in the same location at the pinnacle of their careers. What this means to the world is just dependent on how much power they have with what they're willing to do with it. When anesthesiology and philanthropy are going hand in hand, that's when you know. That's what. And so when there's these dinosaur figures, they're not around now, but it's fun to think about because they had colossal attributes. Like if one was sick and sneezed everywhere, you would think it was such a big sneeze, it would affect masses. And so that's over the top, right? And so the other thing that would be over the top, I was speaking yesterday about planets, and not to bore anyone, there's like stars. A star becomes a planet or a black hole, a white dwarf or a black hole. They're even catchy. And so these are drastic things too. They have colossal implications for deterministics because they're so dense afterwards. They're so dense. And when something's so dense, it gravitates a lot about it. And so the system has massive implications for it. But going a step outside of that is like Malkowski space and the observable universe. So if I'm just going a little bit further, you start seeing all these implications that the 1%ers do. Oh, I don't know, with science and them making journalist stories that are so over the top. And so when this is of occurrence, it's as though if you're making the past present, the present the past, and onwards and so forth. And so if you make a comedy routine out of these things, it bypasses the censors. Well, this is because robots don't understand humor. And if there's people who are having a large hubris, you can trump them through humor. Humor me more.